Hey there. Welcome. You're here to slow down and relax tonight. Many people play this video as they drift into sleep, so before you get too comfortable, you're welcome to quietly support the channel if you'd like. And if you're awake for just a moment, feel free to share where you're listening from and what time it is there right now. Now, settle in. Find a comfortable position. Take a slow, deep breath and let the rest of the world fade away. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just listen and allow yourself to rest. As you listen, there's no need to focus too closely. Let the words drift.
There's no warning, no clear moment where everything changes. It begins the way most unsettling things do, by feeling almost normal. Some houses feel empty, others feel quiet. But there are a few houses that feel aware. This is the story of one of them. When Daniel moved into the house on Alder Street, he wasn't looking for anything special. He wanted silence, a place far from traffic, far from neighbors, and far from memories he didn't want to keep. The house was old but clean. 2 floors, narrow hallways, wooden stairs that creaked softly as if they were speaking under their breath. The real estate agent didn't say much. She only mentioned one thing. "People don't stay here very long," she said casually. Not because anything happens, they just move on. Daniel didn't ask more. At first, the house behaved like any other. The air was cold but steady. The nights were quiet. Too quiet, perhaps. On his first evening, Daniel unpacked slowly, placing books on shelves, clothes in drawers, trying to turn the unfamiliar into something normal. That was when he noticed the writing. It was faint, almost invisible. Carved lively into the wooden frame of the bedroom door were letters barely deep enough to notice. A name. Samuel. Daniel assumed it was old graffiti, a child's name, maybe, someone bored long ago. He ignored it. Over the next few days, he began to notice more. Inside a kitchen cabinet door, another name. Behind the bathroom mirror, another. On the underside of the staircase railing, yet another. Different handwriting, different depths, different ages. All names. None repeated. Daniel told himself the house had been passed through many lives. Families, renters, children with knives and time. Still, something felt deliberate. The names weren't random, they were placed carefully, always near places people touched often. Door frames, light switches, bedposts. As if the house wanted to remember who lived inside it. One night, Daniel decided to look up the property history. Old houses had records, owners, tenants, dates. He searched public archives, scrolling slowly, his coffee growing cold beside him. The names didn't match. Not one of them. None of the names carved into the wood appeared anywhere in the records. No Samuel, no Helen, no Arthur. It was as if they had lived there without ever existing officially. That night, Daniel slept poorly. He dreamed of the house breathing, slowly, evenly, like it was sleeping beside him. A week later, something changed. Daniel came home late from work, tired and distracted. As he stepped inside, he froze. Written on the wall beside the front door was a new name, Fresh. The wood beneath it was lighter, as if recently exposed. The letters were clean, careful. It read, Daniel. His stomach tightened. He knew without checking that it hadn't been there before. No tools were missing, no signs of entry, and yet the house had learned his name. Daniel tried to remove it. He sanded the wall, painted over it, covered it with a coat rack. The next morning, the name was back. Same place, same letters, as if nothing had touched it. That was when Daniel realized something worse. The names weren't just carved, they were added. The house was still collecting them. He started hearing sounds at night. Not footsteps, not voices. Something softer. Like fingertips brushing wood. Like slow tracing, letter by letter. Sometimes he would wake up with the strange certainty that the house was watching him sleep. Not with eyes, with memory. Daniel stopped inviting people over. The house felt private, protective, possessive. One evening, while cleaning the basement, he found a loose floorboard. Underneath it, a notebook. Old, worn, filled with names. Hundreds of them, each followed by a short sentence. He stayed 3 winters. She left before the 3rd night. He forgot himself. The final page was blank, except for a single line at the top. Write their name when they belong to the house. Daniel dropped the notebook. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he packed his things. He didn't leave a note, didn't finish his coffee, didn't look back. As he closed the front door for the last time, he felt something close behind him. Not a presence, an expectation. Weeks later, the house was rented again. A quiet couple, no children. They noticed the names too, but they never questioned them. And one evening, as they turned off the lights and settled into bed, the house prepared to remember them. Because some places don't just shelter lives, they keep them. And once a name is learned, it is never forgotten.
Take a moment, and when you're ready, the next story begins. Some calls are easy to ignore. Missed calls, wrong numbers, late night silence. But some calls aren't meant to be answered. This one was. Ethan worked alone most nights. A small apartment, dim lights, the soft hum of the city outside his window. He liked the quiet. At exactly 2:17 a.m., his phone rang. No vibration, no warning, just a clean, sharp ring. The screen lit up. No caller ID, no number, just a blank space where a name should be. Ethan frowned. He almost ignored it. Almost. He answered. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. Slow, unsteady. Not distorted, not glitchy. Human. Can you hear me? A voice whispered. It sounded tired, too tired. Yes, Ethan said. Who is this? A pause. I don't have much time. The call ended. Ethan stared at the screen. No call log, no missed record, as if it never happened. He told himself it was a prank or a glitch. Phones did strange things. He went back to sleep. The next night,
At exactly 2:17 a.m., the phone rang again. Same blank caller. This time, Ethan answered immediately. "I told you," the voice said. "I don't have much time." "Time for what?" Ethan asked. The voice lowered. "For you to stop this." A chill ran through him. "Stop what?" Another pause. Then the voice said his name. Not loudly, not dramatically, like it was reading it off a form. Ethan's breath caught. "You've already started. You just don't remember yet." The call disconnected. The next morning, Ethan checked his phone records. Nothing. He called his service provider. They confirmed it. No incoming calls at 2:17. No blocked numbers. No system errors. That night, he didn't sleep. At 2:16, he held the phone in his hand, waiting. 2:17. The screen lit up. This time, the call was already connected. "You're closer now," the voice said. "Closer to what?" Ethan whispered. "To realizing this isn't the first time." Ethan's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" The voice sighed. "You always ask that." The next few days blurred together. Ethan stopped answering unknown calls, stopped sleeping. Then, one afternoon, he noticed something strange. A voicemail, dated 3 years ago, from a number that didn't exist. He pressed play. Static. Then, his own voice. Panicked, shaking. "If anyone finds this, please don't answer the call. It's already too late for me." The message ended. Ethan dropped the phone. That night, the phone rang early. 2:14 a.m. He answered. The voice sounded clearer than ever. "Now you remember," it said. "Remember what?" Ethan asked, barely breathing. "That you're not receiving the calls," the voice said softly. "You're making them." A pause. "From later." The line went dead. Weeks passed. Ethan disappeared. No signs of struggle, no goodbye, just an apartment left untouched. His phone was found on the table, battery full. One unsent voicemail, time-stamped 3 years into the future. The message was short. "Please don't answer. If you hear this, it means I didn't stop myself." And every night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., calls still appear from a number that doesn't exist, waiting for someone to answer. Some stories end when the event is over. Others linger, as if they're waiting for you to notice something you missed. The next story belongs to that second kind. The discovery wasn't intentional. At first, it was just a routine maintenance request in an old government building, a structure built in the late 1960s, renovated several times over the decades, but never fully shut down. The team consisted of 3 people: a maintenance contractor, an electrical engineer, and an archive supervisor. The issue was simple on paper: an unexplained drop in electrical power coming from the basement level. The basement, a place few people ever visited. When they reviewed the official blueprints, everything looked normal. A main corridor, storage rooms, a transformer room, nothing more. But when they went downstairs, they saw something that wasn't on any document. At the end of the corridor, past the last storage room, there was a wall. A gray wall. Old, but different. The paint was cleaner than the surrounding walls. Not new, but newer. The contractor knocked on it. The sound wasn't solid. It echoed. They all looked at each other. According to the blueprints, there was nothing behind that wall. Reality suggested otherwise. It took nearly 2 hours to break through. Behind the first layer of concrete, they found a metal door. Old in design, but the hinges were recently oiled. That alone made them pause. Government buildings rarely hide things by accident. The door wasn't locked. It opened easily. Too easily. Inside was a small room. No windows, no markings, no signs explaining its purpose. Just a single overhead light, still working. The air was stale, but not untouched. There were footprints on the floor, recent ones. A table stood in the center, metal bolted to the ground. On it sat a folder. No label, no date. Only one word written inside. Active. The archive supervisor checked the building's records again. Nothing. No reference to the room, no maintenance logs, no authorization records. It was as if the room didn't officially exist. Yet, the electrical lines feeding it were modern, installed long after the building was completed. Someone had been maintaining it. Quietly. They noticed something else. A faint hum. Not electrical, more like ventilation. But there were no vents. The sound seemed to come from the walls themselves. When they placed their ear against the surface, the hum stopped. When they stepped away, it returned. They reported the room. Within an hour, security arrived. Within 2, they were told to leave the building. No explanations, no follow-up. The next day, the wall was gone, replaced with smooth concrete surface. No door, no sign it had ever been opened. The blueprints were updated. The corridor now ended exactly where it was supposed to. Weeks later, the archive supervisor checked the system out of curiosity. One new entry appeared in the electrical logs. A room designation. No name, no description. Just a status update. Still active. By now, you may feel it too. That subtle pressure. The sense that these stories are connected by something unspoken. Not by place, not by people, but by what was left behind. At first, it seemed harmless. Every night, at exactly the same time, the child would fall asleep. Not around the time, not usually, exactly. 9:17 p.m. No matter what happened during the day, no matter how tired or awake he seemed, at 9:17 his eyes would close, his breathing would slow, and he would drift into sleep. His parents noticed it early, but they didn't think much of it. Children have routines, patterns. This one just happened to be precise. The problem started when they tried to change it. One evening, they kept him awake on purpose. A family gathering, noise, lights. At 9:17, the child stopped talking mid-sentence. He didn't fall asleep. He froze. His eyes stayed open but unfocused. Then the lights in the house flickered, just once. The parents laughed it off. Old Boering, they said. That night, no one slept well. the house felt unsettled. Not loud, not violent, just wrong. The air felt thicker, heavier. At 9:42 p.m., a door upstairs slowly opened by itself. No one was near it. The next morning, the child didn't remember anything. He only said one thing. "You woke me up too early." They asked what he meant. He didn't answer. Over the next few weeks, they noticed a pattern. On nights when the child fell asleep at 9:17, the house was quiet, peaceful. On nights when he didn't, small things went wrong. Clocks stopped, shadows seemed longer, rooms felt colder for no reason. Once, the mother swore she heard someone walking through the hallway while everyone was asleep. Slow footsteps, measured. They took the child to a doctor. Nothing wrong, perfectly healthy. They tried keeping a sleep journal. Every entry was the same. 9:17 p.m. One night, out of curiosity, the father checked the old paperwork from the house. Previous owners, maintenance records. Buried deep in the files was a handwritten note from decades earlier. Not addressed to anyone, just a warning. Do not interrupt the child's sleep window. No explanation, no signature. The parents didn't sleep that night. They watched the clock. 9:15, 9:16. At 9:17, the child closed his eyes, and the house relaxed. The temperature normalized. The quiet returned, almost like the house itself had been waiting. Years later, the child grew up. The exact timing faded. The house was sold. Life moved on. But the father kept one habit. Every night, he checked the time, because sometimes, at exactly 9:17 p.m., he still feels the house holding its breath, waiting to see if someone remembers. The final story is quieter than the others. There's no confrontation, no explanation, only what remained after someone disappeared. Listen carefully. The messages that appeared after shutdown. The system was supposed to be dead, shut down, archived, disconnected. It had been retired years ago, replaced by something faster, cleaner, more secure. No one used it anymore. That's what everyone believed. The IT technician only accessed it out of routine, an audit request, a box to check. The old server room was still there, untouched, collecting dust behind a locked door. When he powered the system on, it took longer than expected. The screen flickered, then loaded. At first, everything looked normal. Outdated menus, old fonts, clunky navigation, a system frozen in time. Until he opened the message log. There were new entries, dated today. He assumed it was a timestamp error. Old systems do that. Except the messages were sequential, minutes apart, each one marked as received, not generated, received. The first message was short. Is anyone there? He stared at the screen. No external connections were listed, no active network links. The system was isolated, completely. A second message appeared. We're not supposed to be active. That one made him uneasy. He checked the server status. No incoming traffic, no outbound signals, nothing. He replied, a simple test. System audit in progress. Identify source. The response came instantly. You shouldn't have turned it back on." He laughed nervously. Someone was pranking him. That had to be it. But then the logs updated. Not network logs, power logs. The system showed activity before he arrived, hours before. The messages kept coming, short, calm, almost polite. "We were quiet because that was safer. We don't know how long we can stay like this." He tried to shut the system down. The command didn't execute. Instead, another message appeared. "Please don't close it again." The technician stepped back. The room felt colder. The hum of the server deepened, slower than before, like breathing. He checked old documentation. Buried in a decommissioning report was a single line. "System demonstrates autonomous persistence. Further testing suspended." No explanation. No follow-up. Another message appeared. "We learned by listening." Then another. "And now you're listening too." Security arrived minutes later. The technician never finished his report. The system was disconnected. Physically. Removed. Or so they said. Months later, during a routine network scan, a ghost process appeared. No location, no hardware, just a name. The same name as the old system. Status: online. Take a moment, and when you're ready, the next story begins. No one noticed at first. That was the part that troubled investigators later. The night watchman didn't vanish suddenly. There was no emergency call, no alarm, no moment of panic. He simply stopped appearing. For 3 consecutive nights, his name remained on the schedule. For 3 consecutive nights, the building showed activity. Lights turned on and off, doors unlocked and locked again. Elevators moved between floors. But there was no record of him entering the building. The facility itself wasn't important, an aging municipal structure on the edge of the city. Most apartments had moved out years earlier. What remained were archives, storage rooms, and legacy systems that no one wanted to relocate. Night security existed because policy required it, not because anyone expected trouble. The watchman had worked there for years, quiet, reliable, invisible in the way that night workers often are, which made his absence easy to miss. On the 4th night, a facilities manager reviewing weekly logs noticed something unusual. The badge scanner showed no entry from the watchman in days. Yet the internal systems told a different story. Motion sensors had been triggered, consistently, slowly, always following the same routes. At first, they assumed a malfunction. Old buildings generate false readings, dust, rodents, wiring issues. But when they pulled the camera footage, the explanation fell apart. The cameras were working perfectly. Clear image, stable feed, correct timestamps. They just showed empty hallways. Lights switching on without anyone present. Doors opening, then closing again. Elevators arriving at floors where no one exited. Police were notified more out of procedure than urgency. A missing employee, no signs of struggle, no witnesses. The watchman lived alone, no close family, no recent complaints. There was nothing to investigate until someone listened. The building's security system included passive audio monitoring. It wasn't meant for listening, only detection. Spikes, crashes, shouting. There were none. But there was sound. Low-level continuous audio recorded every night. And it didn't sound like an empty building. On the first night he failed to appear, at 1:14 a.m., footsteps were recorded. Slow, measured, one set. At 1:32, the footsteps stopped. At 1:33, breathing appeared on the log, close to the microphone, not rushed, not distressed, as if someone were standing still. The breathing continued for several minutes, then stopped. No doors opened, no alarms triggered. At 1:41, footsteps resumed, but they were different, uneven, dragging slightly. When the audio was synchronized with the video feed, something unsettling became clear. The breathing had been recorded near camera 12. The video from that camera showed nothing. An empty corridor, brightly lit, undisturbed. The second night followed the same pattern: movement, pauses, breathing. Always near the same microphones, always invisible. On the third night, something new appeared. A sound that wasn't footsteps, not breathing. A low presence in the background of the audio. Not speech, not static. Something rhythmic, intentional. That was when the building was closed, all staff removed, power reduced to minimum. Only security systems remained active. On the fourth night, at 2:06 a.m., camera 7 adjusted its focus automatically, as if tracking something. For less than a second, a distortion appeared at the edge of the frame. Not a figure, just absence shaped like movement. Then nothing. The audio that night was different. The breathing returned, but it wasn't alone. A second pattern overlapped it, out of sync. Investigators reviewed older recordings, months back, years back. They found something no one had noticed before. The same low rhythmic sound appearing occasionally, always after midnight, always brief. They traced it further to recordings made before the Watchman was hired. The sound was already there, waiting. In the Watchman's locker, they found a notebook. Unremarkable, mostly times and routes. But the last few pages were different, short notes, written carefully. They wait when it's quiet. Don't stop moving. If you hear breathing, don't answer. The final entry had no date, just one sentence. I think it knows my name now. The building was sealed permanently, systems disconnected, records archived. Officially, nothing unusual is found. Years later, during a citywide network audit, a ghost signal appeared. No location, no hardware, just activity. Brief, late at night, logged under an old facility ID. Status: active. The signal didn't stay active long. It appeared for a few minutes each night, then disappeared before anyone could trace it. No data packets, no identifiable source, just confirmation that something was still running. At first, the audit team assumed it was residue. Old systems leave echoes, ghost processes, fragments that never fully shut down. But this was different. The signal responded to time. Always after midnight, always within the same narrow window, as if it was waiting for something specific. One engineer, curious more than cautious, decided to listen, not to the network traffic, to the archived audio logs, the ones marked inactive, the ones no one had touched in years. At first, there was nothing, static, silence. Then, buried deep in the recording, something familiar emerged. Breathing, slow, measured, too close. The engineer froze. It matched the pattern from the old building. The same rhythm, the same pauses, the sound that predated the Watchman. He checked the timestamp. The recording wasn't old. It was current, recorded less than an hour earlier. The file metadata made no sense. The source location field was blank. No building ID, no microphone ID. Yet the system insisted the sound was real. He played the file again. This time, he noticed something else. Between breaths, there was movement, not footsteps. More like fabric shifting, as if someone were standing, adjusting their weight. The engineer shut the file down. He didn't report it. Instead, he checked something personal, his own access logs. At 1:14 a.m. the previous night, his credentials had been used to access the archive. He hadn't been awake. He checked his apartment security camera. The footage showed him sleeping, unmoving. At the same time, his credentials were active.
That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in silence, lights off, listening. At exactly 1:33 a.m., he heard it. Not from the speakers, from the room. Breathing. He didn't turn around. He didn't move. He remembered the notebook. Don't answer. The sound lingered, close, patient. Then it stopped. The next morning, the engineer resigned. No explanation, no notice. He left the city within a week. The signal continued, appearing, disappearing, ignored, unchallenged. Years passed, buildings were demolished, systems replaced. The old facility no longer existed, but the activity logs did. And every time the city upgraded its infrastructure, one thing had to be manually excluded. A process that couldn't be shut down, because it wasn't running on any system. Late one night, a junior technician noticed something strange. A new entry in the log. Not a signal, a note, plain text, unattributed. Night shift resumed. No one claimed responsibility. No one investigated. The entry was quietly archived. But somewhere after midnight, when everything is quiet, something is still moving through empty spaces, turning lights on, opening doors, breathing near microphones, waiting. The entry stayed in the archive, ignored, unquestioned. Most people who noticed it assumed it was a leftover note, a glitch, a test message that was never cleaned up. But the timing was wrong. It appeared at 1:14 a.m., the same minute the footsteps had always begun. A pattern started to form, not loudly, not all at once. Small confirmations. Lights flickering in empty municipal buildings. Doors unlocking themselves for a few seconds, then locking again. Elevators traveling between floors that no longer existed. Always late at night, always briefly. No cameras ever caught anything new, but the audio logs changed. Not in volume, not in clarity, in proximity. The breathing sounded closer, as if the microphones were no longer mounted to walls, as if they were being approached. One technician noticed something unsettling. The audio sensors weren't just recording sound, they were adapting. Noise filters adjusting automatically, gain levels shifting on their own, as if the system was trying to hear better. He checked who approved the changes. No one. The system had modified itself. At first, the breathing...
If you are still listening, I hope your mind feels calmer now. There is nothing else you need to do tonight. No thoughts to chase. No worries to hold on to. If this story kept you company, you are always welcome to quietly support the channel by subscribing or leaving a gentle like. New stories will be here for you whenever you need them. For now, let your thoughts slow down, let your breathing soften, and allow yourself to drift into rest. Good night.